in the song, it literally identifies that she wants to know how far she can go. And the idea that she's like, can I get there? Can I find out where that is, where the sky touches the water? And also, it's a figurative, metaphorical representation of self-growth and self-actualization. Something that I believe in because it's one of the core concepts within counseling mental health is the idea that we as humans try to achieve self-actualization, meaning we try to become the best form of ourselves that we possibly can be.
That's the strong theme. Know who you are. And she learns I'm not just a daughter. I'm not just a resident of this island. Like, who you are is a complex, layered thing. And that's what she learns through her journey. Well, welcome everybody. We are back yet again to talk about some amazing films. My name is Devorah Governale.
And I'm Carrie Parker.
And today we wanted to honor some beautiful culture and beautiful film and talk about the film Moana. And actually that is quickly becoming a growing franchise. The second film came out just a couple years ago.
24.
Yep. And then the new remake, live action remake, Moana is about to be the most recent Disney princess to get her live action version of her animated version this summer. So that's coming out real soon. And so, yeah, we're so excited to talk about this film. She was offered the role. She actually turned it down. She felt it was very important to provide an opportunity for another Polynesian female performer to have that opportunity and to shine on screen. She acknowledges what that film did for her career and for her life, and she wanted to pay that forward to another generation.
Yeah, which is such
so
a
beautiful
decision. Yeah, it's such a decision to be in that situation. She's the only one out of our animated princesses who actually could have that opportunity, because the reality of
the other films just having been produced decades
ago.
So
long ago, that, I mean, obviously, like, Jodie Benson is pretty famously
still performing
the original Ariel.
And was in Little Mermaid. I think they did have one little scene where they got to interact for just a second.
I mean, that's the reality is, like, I mean, these happen so far after the fact that that's the only reason why it's interesting
I bet she's not even alive anymore.
Well, that's my point. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
30s.
But Moana being one of our newest, she's one of the only ones who would have actually been able to do that opportunity. So that's such a choice, because I feel like none of the other girls really would have even had that choice to make.
Yeah. Mulan, same thing. The Mulan was in the film. She had a role, but she wasn't Mulan.
Yeah.
In the live action.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty wild.
So interesting. So Moana, honestly, I remember I thought she was Hawaiian, and then somebody corrected me that she was not Hawaiian, she was Polynesian.
It was one of the oldest schools on the island. I worked at also one of the oldest schools on the island. I worked at Punahou School in the costume department there. In fact, with everything that happened to these islands over the last couple hundred years, they actually got dangerously close to losing their language. Their language was almost completely lost. It was a very big deal. Fortunately, there were a lot of great people who pushed for movements that has saved that language, and it is taught to a lot of schools there. Kamehameha is one. Now, where I think Ali'i does have a decent amount of Hawaiian heritage, Moana is considered Polynesian. They had different storytellers that they consulted with. They worked very hard to honor the culture of this film. Disney sent the two directors several times over the 5 years that they worked on this film, and they had a group of kind of their responsibility was to hold the story of their culture, and that way there could be representation of all of it. The island of Motunui is fictional. It is a fictional island, and it's intended to represent all of these Polynesian cultures that are in that area, and that way there could be that representation, and that's why you see like some of the blending of the nuances in it. So that was the goal, and at least according to the documentary I watched, there was a lot of pride and respect from those people to be well represented and to have their stories and their cultures honored and portrayed so well.
100%. And to add to that point, but also because we are nerds and I adore Alan Tudyk beyond measure.
I think he was the only not Polynesian actor.
Everyone else
had to.
The trivia I just read, he was the only non-Polynesian main character. To be fair, does he have words? Not as hey hey. He does have that little tiny bit as the additional voice of the elderly man who is ironically making fun of hey hey. So it was super fun that he voiced both angles of that conversation, because the old man is talking about just how dense,
how dumb that chicken is. And it is a dumb chicken.
It is a dumb chicken.
His whole line of, I went to Juilliard for this.
I love
this. Is what I went to Juilliard for, to make chicken sounds into a microphone.
And then he's like,
good chicken sounds.
In the most proper voice he can, I went to Juilliard. And I'm just like, we love you so much. Lilo and Stitch.
They also went and did a lot of research. And there were students from the school that Alihi went to, obviously different generations, but they were the choir that you hear all of the children singing in Lilo and Stitch.
That's super cute.
So alums, that school is very proud. They've been able to participate in Disney a lot.
And that's awesome.
But they actually literally created brand new coding and designing for their hair. Because that was another aspect of the culture they wanted to make sure that they were paying respect to. Some of the original concept drawings for Maui, because Maui is a god that has been a part of their culture for thousands of years. You can go to the Honolulu Museum of Natural History. He's got a whole room dedicated to him. I mean, he is a big deal. That's a real part of their culture.
An island
he's a big deal.
He is an island named after, literally.
You know you're a big deal when you have an island, right?
Yeah, you get to be one of the Hawaiian islands, literally.
Exactly. But his first initial concept renderings that they were showing, again, to this group of people who were the keepers of the culture, keepers of the stories, he was completely bald. And that was one of the first conversations they had, was you just literally cannot put this character on screen if he's bald. The Polynesian hair is such a huge part of their culture. So there's actually one of those story keepers, there was some of the Disney animators, the computer animators, that sat and filmed her as she just frolicked through the grass out in front of their work building so that they could get it bouncing and swaying and all the things that hair can do. They needed to record what Polynesian hair did, and then they literally wrote new code for it so that they could get that right. And they were very hard to honor that. And of course, that's continued on. I want to say that they actually very similar things with Brave when Pixar did Brave, because man, that ginger hair is no joke. It is epic. It is so epic. But yes, they were doing that very much in this culture as well. Even just the fact that the main character in the title is Moana, which of course in Hawaiian means ocean or water. And there's a huge, having lived on those islands for that half a decade I did, there's a huge cultural concept that you could easily look at the water as dividing the islands and separating the people and the cultures and the communities, but it is looked at completely the opposite. The water is what connects us. And so the fact that she's named Moana is very massive. And then the fact that her main aspect of her journey is to reestablish wayfinding. So just like in real life, they almost lost their language. Wayfinding was something that in this story has been lost for about 1,000 years. Because of course, this is a story about how you've got this beautiful living island and her heart held a lot of power, and Maui wanted that power. Everybody wanted that power. The Kakamore want it. Tamatoa wants it. Everybody wants her power. So Maui comes and steals that heart from her. And so she goes from being this beautiful living island to being this very volatile, damaging volcano of an island. And so instead of bringing life to the world, she's now actually kind of poisoning the world from what has happened with losing her heart, having that heart stolen. So her people, Moana's people, have not been wayfinding because it has become too dangerous to go out because of what, this residual effect of what Maui did. And so she, of course, we see in the beginning of the film, finds this little secret tucked away cove that all of their ships have been hidden. Her ancestors, because it was too dangerous and they didn't want that danger to come to their families, they hid all of their boats. So they had lost the art of wayfinding, which is to this day massive. There is the Hokulea. The Hokulea is a boat that has been going on the wayfinding journey since the 70s, and it goes out on continuous journeys. I was so honored to be there during one of the times that it actually came back. I got to be there and see it. I think it was June of 2017, and it came back into port, Ala Moana, which was the beach beach that I spent most of my time at because it was walking distance from where I lived. But the fact that she's able to revive and work towards becoming a master wayfinder was a big deal. And it was through wayfinding that the ocean was able to connect people. So, because by the time we meet Moana, they had lost the art of wayfinding because going out was too dangerous. But by the time we meet Moana, the danger has arrived at the island. So she's now finding, if I don't go out and solve this problem, my people will not have food. They will not have homes. Like my people, she's feeling adventurous. So it's kind of easy for her to be like, I have to go on a boat because I really want this. But she really is showing the leadership that her father has been working towards preparing her for, because she does see, we can't solve this problem here. We have to leave to solve this problem.
Which is so crucial. And I mean, literally, you just summed up so many things in such a short period of time. But the reality of the ecosystem, because that's also big picture. One of the themes here is the ecosystem and how her people were working with the environment, right? And the idea that there's a whole song about which
positive cohabitation.
My kids and I had the soundtrack, listened to the soundtrack. They loved the song of You're Welcome. By the way, it's so Dwayne Johnson's first musical, which is fair. I don't think that as a wrestler he ever imagined I'm going to do musicals.
I'm going to be singing in a Disney musical.
But sure enough, I don't know why he didn't see that one coming.
Substitute taught in the high school that he went to, the high school that he attended on Oahu. And yeah, I used to think that whenever I'd go visit Joe at work, I'm like, gosh, The Rock used to walk these halls. Did he have any idea? Did he have any idea when he was walking these halls?
To be fair, though, I mean, I love Dwayne Johnson for so many reasons. So what they were doing to survive was very natural. It was very in tune with the world around them. But that is something that they bring into the story in the beginning. We see the fact that the coconuts that they were relying on, literally, it's part of the lyrics, how they have the water, there's the meat, they use the husks for this, etc., etc.
Yeah, they make clothes, they make, linens,
Everyone and everything on the island has its purpose, and Moana is struggling to find hers because she keeps getting drawn to this thing that her people and her duty tells her she shouldn't be drawn to. The idea that he was a dreamer who actually believed in the possibility of things happening is exactly what
bring me to tears for
real. Exactly what Moana is also representing, but in a completely different setting and culture reality and like what she's trying to achieve, right? So the idea that she's drawn to the water, and then she finds out that her people used to live on the water and thrive on the water, and then the fact that she's able to identify
visions of her ancestors. She learns that this necklace her grandmother has given her has been passed down, and just the symbolism of that mantle continuing on. And you also see it in their tattoos. I love how much they honor the importance that is to their culture. Your family history is passed down through that. You see that in Maui. Seeing all of that was so important to seeing not just her story, but that her story includes all of her ancestors leading up to her.
And they did a really good job in the world build. In the song, it literally identifies that she wants to know how far she can go. And the fact that horizons and water meeting are a very common concept when you are talking about oceans, right? When you go to the beach, it's sand, water, horizon, where the sky meets the water. And the idea that she's like, can I get there? Can I find out where that is, where the sky touches the water? And also, it's a figurative, metaphorical representation of self-growth and self-actualization. Something that I believe in because it's one of the core concepts within counseling mental health, is the idea that we as humans try to achieve self-actualization, meaning we try to become the best form of ourselves that we possibly can be.
That's the strong theme. Know who you are. And she learns I'm not just a daughter. I'm not just a resident of this island. Like, who you are is a complex, layered thing. And that's what she learns through her journey. Te Ka is her volcano form, and Te Fiti is her growth, positive, healthy form.
And she is an island, right?
She's a living island.
Ultimately, right? And again, ecosystem
speaks to that and speaks to that culture, because that's how they see it.
Nature.
And her grandmother also recognized the only way you actually can achieve what your parents hope for you is to go on a more complex journey.
It's to break that generational cycle.
Journey. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
it takes
what it was
much more.
At that
it's
point.
more of a spiral, as my mom would say, a spiral journey.
Right. Because Dad was essentially, reinforcing the idea of the only way to protect your people, which that's a huge responsibility that she has.
And had been true in previous generations.
That she is the survival of her people, their thriving is reliant on her, and they have to be able to trust her as a leader. And here she is distracted by water. So she feels like she's a frivolous child who's getting distracted by shiny things. But
Tamatoa.
But oh
Shiny.
my god, I can't. I also love Jermaine Clement.
Yes,
Anyways, he's amazing. I love his creativity and talent and humor. We'll get there. Moana takes this journey, and she's breaking a generational cycle. And again, though, being that dreamer who sees the boats and sees her love and drive for the water, and she decides to take this journey. To her, getting her people to be able to leave this island that is now unfortunately being affected by the toxicity of that volcano. The toxicity of this female whose heart was stolen from her.
Yes.
Is the huge
and the
metaphor
that starts to just
representation,
that darkness when that happens.
So the fact that Moana has to follow her own heart in order to be able to return the heart is such a huge message. The fact that she's like, you know who you are, I know who you are, who you truly are. It's such a huge message. And Mother Nature is always mother, right? It is constantly living. She's constantly providing. She's constantly growing new life. Te Fiti kind of is that representation, but in a different way. She's the representation of a woman with a heart and what happens to a woman without her heart. And we can all be a little toxic, but I think it's such a grounding concept, that metaphor of the lava, the rage explosion and the heat and the lava of the volcano, and how that's killing off other ecosystems that are crucial for this whole entire region of the planet to thrive. And so Moana, in the most mythological, to bring it back to Joseph Campbell and storytelling, is finding the solution that otherwise we would think of as scientific. And ultimately, she is trying to repair the ecosystem. And she luckily does. This lore essentially brings together Moana and Maui.
There's even that added level that as she helps to restore the heart, we're seeing all the ash, because that's another reality, is that when you've got all that ash, that ground is so much more fertile. We actually saw that here in Florida now a very long time ago. The firestorm of 98, it just it took down so many trees. And then as I would come back to Florida to visit family and friends over the next decade or so, I actually could not get over the green and the foliage. It was like nature knew it needed that cycle. It needed the dead to come down. It needed the ash to fertilize the ground, and then new life could grow. You get that imagery as Te Fiti gets her heart restored. You see her touch the ash and then the green and the beauty that comes forth. And there's a lot of symbolism to be held in that, where when we do go through our own hearts being stolen for whatever reason, whatever your journey looks like, that there can be more beautiful, more lush growth that comes from the ashes of that. It doesn't mean that it's fun to go through that rage chapter, but it can help us to know that there can be better on the other side. This is really just such a great film. I got to design the costumes for it, and actually I tried to, at least with the time and resources that I had at our little theater, but I tried to also honor the culture as much as possible. I appreciate when I posted the photos for this. It's another Hawaiian word. The word for house is hale. The name of the theater I worked at was the Hale Theater, and they were both spelled the same way. So I actually had some people in my social media that thought I had moved back to Hawaii. They're like, oh, we figured you were working at the Hale something. And I was like, that's the best compliment ever, that you thought I was legit there working, with these culturally accurate costumes. But yeah, it is. It's a great story. It's a wonderful opportunity to make sure that that representation continues to grow. There were a lot of Polynesian people who have spoken about they are so grateful that when they watch this film with their children, that their children can look at the screen and see themselves. I really appreciate that this film can provide that to the world and to the Polynesian people in our world, and it can share that culture with other cultures. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to just keep spreading the love and loving diversity and being inclusive and coming together to make the world a better place.
Yeah, being able to be empathetic and acknowledge where people came from, how their cultures influence them, being able to make sure that they can still respect and practice their culture. I love a lot of the symbolism in the storytelling process and that mythological aspect to it.
Yay! Well, thank you for joining us yet again. We look forward to being able to hear your thoughts. How have you loved this film? Do you love the first one more? Do you love the second one more? How are you feeling about the live action coming out soon? Are you excited? I'm looking forward to taking my nieces and going to see it. It's just such a wonderful story. And
it'll be an adventure.
It will, as it should be. Disney princess films should be an adventure.
Yes.
So we'll look forward to seeing you guys next time, and thanks again for joining us. Bye, guys.